Welcome back into the Tide Talk podcast. I am your host, Stacey Blackwood, and today is our very first edition of Tide Talk in 10, a new series where we talk about the Crimson Tide in 10 minutes or less. If you haven't already, go and hit that subscribe button right now and do us a favor, be a friend, and tell a friend about our show. All right, I also want to tell you about our friends over at betonline.ag. Betonline.ag is the fastest and easiest way to make money on all your sports betting. Whether you do teasers, pleasers, they have all that. Bet against the spread. They can do that at betonline.ag. And if college football and the NFL is not your cup of tea, you can bet on reality TV. They also have a 24/7 online casino that is always open if you want to play blackjack, poker, roulette. So go to betonline.ag, sign up today, and you receive that welcome bonus. That's betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts. All right, it's game day, Alabama fans. It's time to get fired up. The Alabama Twitter account released a hype video narrated by Henry Toatoa, so go check that out. That's a lot of fun. So I'm excited about today's matchup. I know it's kind of lost a little bit of its luster because A&M has dropped its last two games against Arkansas and then last week against Mississippi State, but they're still a really talented football team and capable of competing with Alabama. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and I'm really excited to kind of look at this matchup real quick over the next few minutes. Okay, like I said, A&M is reeling, losers of their last two games. They suffered a lot of injuries. First to their quarterback early in the season, Haynes King. Now Zach Calzada is taking over as the quarterback for A&M, and he's been okay, but he hasn't been great for those guys. So, but he's really young and inexperienced, so he's just a guy that's going to get better for them. But he's not the type of quarterback that could really put a lot of pressure on that Alabama defense unless he kind of has one of those Steven Garcia type games. And we all remember that game from back in 2010 against South Carolina. But the Alabama defensive line should have plenty of chances to get to Calzada and make plays in that backfield because A&M is not only missing their starting quarterback, but they're going to be missing two or three guys up front on that offensive line. So Will Anderson, Fadarian Mathis, Byron Young, Justin Aboigbe, those guys should have, a field day against that offensive line that has struggled this season. And if you look at Alabama's injuries of their own, Drew Sanders is now out, according to Coach Saban. So you look at young guys like Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell to take their place or to take Drew Sanders' place there. And, of course, Drew Sanders was replacing a guy that got injured against Miami in the first game of the season in Chris Allen. So Alabama's starting to get bit by the injury bug just a little bit. So that's something to keep your eye on. I'm excited to see what Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell can do at Sam. So that's going to be something to watch out for when Alabama is on defense. Now let's look a little bit at Texas A&M's defense. They're a talented group. DeMarvin Leal, McKinley Jackson, those are two talented guys. Carter Kidd is a really good edge player. So they have some talent there on the defensive side of the football, especially there in the front seven. So they could cause some problems if Alabama's offensive line does not show up and play one of their better games. So we need guys like Chris Owens, Emil Ekiyor, Darian Dalcourt. We need to make sure he is getting his snaps in order. Javion Cohen, Evan Neal has been solid all year long. So excited to see what this offensive line can do against a talented front seven that Texas A&M has to offer. And I'm also excited to see how Bill O'Brien kind of incorporates Roydell Williams into that running back rotation with the injury to Jace McClellan. That's a big loss for this Alabama team. McClellan was a real good playmaker, more so, in the passing game as a running back than maybe what he was as a runner between the tackles. But it's going to be interesting to see how Bill O'Brien incorporates Roydell Williams and maybe even Trey Sanders into that running back rotation to kind of help spell Brian Robinson, who had a career day last week against Ole Miss with 36 carries, 170-something yards, and 4 touchdowns. So excited to see how the running back game looks and that rotation looks against a talented front seven of Texas A&M. I'm also wanting to see Bryce Young and his receivers kind of get better at connecting on those long balls. Last year with Mac Jones, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Waddle up until his injuries, it was all about the long ball. So I'm anxious to see if this team can start connecting on some of those chunk plays in the passing game. That is something to watch out for and something that Alabama needs to continue to develop and get better with offensively. If Alabama shows up tonight, if they show up with their mindset the correct way with the right intensity and play a complete 60-minute game, they should not have a problem with this Texas A&M team who is struggling with injuries and all sorts of issues, especially offensively. They're a really solid defensive team, but offensively they're really struggling right now. So Alabama's defense needs to show up, play a complete 60-minute contest, and they should be fine. I'm looking at this game and I see the tough environment that Kyle Field is, and the 12th man, and what a great environment that will be as a night game in College Station. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. That's at 7 o'clock on CBS. So make sure you tune in there. I think that's going to be a great environment. Hopefully Alabama can show up tonight, put the game away early, and kind of take the crowd out of the game. But I'm looking for Alabama to continue to find their way offensively. They've grown each and every game. The defense is getting better. So I think Alabama wins this game 42-13. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this edition of Tide Talk in 10. Make sure you head over to betonline.ag and place those bets, and make sure you hit that subscribe button and jump in the comment section and answer today's question. Will Alabama cover the 18-point spread against Texas A&M tonight? All right, guys, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single episode of the Tide Talk podcast. Until next time, roll Tide.